Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. Thanks
Hi,
for waking up so early.
good morning.
Hello. My name is Attila Johnson, Chief Marketing Officer for Merck Consumer Health Brands at P&G Health. And this is Justina.
Hi everyone, I'm Justina Detmer. I'm the Global HCP Director for Merck Consumer Brands at HCP Health. So originally I'm Polish, so if you hear some Polish accent, this is me.
So our session this morning is called Doctors Are Also Humans. And amongst ourselves, we have actually also talked about it as Doctors Are No Robots. So in essence, this morning we'll be talking about how, by humanizing the relationships with doctors and in general with healthcare professionals, you can earn love for your brands and for your company and completely stick out in a very, very crowded environment. Now, let me get started by saying that last year I was standing here on this very same stage talking about earning love for consumers. So directionally, nothing much has changed except for we'll be talking about healthcare professionals. And the other bit that has changed is that our company, Merck Consumer Health, got acquired December 2018 by Procter & Gamble. So Justina and myself, for the first time, will be presenting for our new home, P&G Health. What do I do? What have I been doing for approximately 6 years now? I have been building the business mostly for our global brands that have a bigger geographic impact by creating, inspiring, big, fertile ideas that are going to earn love for our brands. And specifically in this presentation, we'll be talking about big ideas that will earn love with healthcare professionals, especially with doctors. Maybe Justina, you talk about what you do as well?
Yes, so my job as the Global HCP Director is actually to pioneer the uncharted territory, which is building brands with healthcare professionals. And for me, it is really key to make every and each interaction with a doctor or a pharmacist engaging and meaningful.
Thank you, dear. So let us get started by putting the moose on the table, asking the big question, are doctors actually humans? So I'll tell you, when I arrived in this category, in this industry 6 years ago, I have seen a variety of practices and a variety changing from, I would say, seeing the doctors as business partners, customers, worst case, cash cows, to, for lack of a better wording, to seeing them as machines, as robots, that have no interest nor ability to process anything else but data and graphs. The answer to the question is, of course they are humans, and this presentation is going to tell you how humanizing the relationships with healthcare professionals earns you a special place in their heart and sets you completely apart from the rest of the companies in a very, very crowded environment in the healthcare arena. Over the last 6 years, what we have done is looking at ourselves. The big picture is there are 3 principles that you can apply, 3 rules of the game, so to speak, that are direct consequences from recognizing that they are humans and that there is a human side to them. The first one, and throughout the presentation, I'm going to always capture those 3. The first one is brand over business. This means that you have to overtly prioritize brand building over business building and the pressure of sales. This means that you need to treat the healthcare professional as the target group of your brand building and set up the market research accordingly and relentlessly track yourself and the perception in the eyes of the healthcare professionals. We hashtagged it with Think Brand if you want to communicate in social media. The second one, equally importantly, is you need to ultimately focus on the patient in your conversations. What does that mean? Talking about real stories of real patients brings you much, much closer to the day-to-day life of the healthcare professional. This means also, although you may have been briefed in that way, not putting your own company in focus or the product and the ingredients as such, or praising the doctor or the pharmacist in the hopes of you're going to be scoring with them. Focus on the patient is here, the hashtag. The third principle that we have abided by is delight, don't drain. So in a sea of similar, in this industry, the healthcare professional, and we have proven that time and again, will remember, recognize, and reward the company, the brand that has surprised them positively and that have truly delighted them. And here the hashtag is delight, not drain. So let us step back and do a self-critique of the industry. Are doctors indeed treated as humans? A couple of provocative questions may be coming up. Let me give you a little bit of a background. Looking at all the materials, at least in the OTC area, what we have noticed is 80% of content that's being shared with doctors is actually graphically expressed data, graph after graph after graph, which then begs the question, can we as the industry do much more than that? We certainly can. Another point is a lot of the interaction, a lot of the time is spent on convincing, on proving, and ultimately making the doctor or the healthcare professional buy into a product proposition by going over studies either of your own company or that of a competitive company with a similar formulation. There is very little time left to actually talk about what is the most relevant to the doctor's day-to-day life, which is talking about the real patients and their stories. Continuing the same journey, I think the person that is being sent out by the company, the representative of the company, oftentimes they're being checked and tracked against if they have reviewed and covered the 3 charts they may have been given by the headquarters 2 days ago. And once they have talked through in this monologue, they're done with their job, right? So there's not much conversation, real conversation going on. And it's very much predictable if you have a date with a representative from a healthcare company on your agenda. Continuing the same line of thoughts, can we not have the ambition to each time we visit a doctor to put a smile on their face? And to push it a little bit further, can we actually have the doctor or the healthcare professional we're about to visit look forward to each and every visit of the healthcare company? So these being a few provocative questions we asked ourselves, now we would like to switch gears to talking to you about 2 brand examples from our global brands, which I believe have perfectly abided by those 3 principles and have shown also thrilling business results, which I'm going to right after cover for the individual examples. Again, when you're reviewing the examples, I would like you to tick the boxes, the 3 of them. Brand over business is number 1. Focus on the patient is number 2. And number 3 is delight, don't drain. Okay, so I'm going to pass on the microphone now to Justina to cover the first brand, which is Doloneurobion in the pain area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attila. So now let's talk Doloneurobion. What actually is Doloneurobion? It is our pain proposition, pain portfolio, which is almost 90% business being in the RX arena. This is one of our global strategic brands. So it comes from the pharmaceutical world where everything looks the same, everybody is talking a little bit the same, and actually our brand doesn't have really engaging story to tell. And actually we are coming from the reality where we were talking about the individual products for pain treatment with the benefits which were overlapping each other. So today, actually, Doloneurobion transitions into the brand world where the looks and the strategy has actually the scientific meaning. Yeah? So, and actually what we also do is we transition Doloneurobion from talking individual products into talking brands. So what is this one HCP insight which triggers us and which can unlock us to really stick out from the sea of similars, what Attila mentioned? So the HCP insight that we latched on was actually that, yeah, there are so many different kinds of pain with different manifestation, different etiology, and actually I as a doctor, I as a pharmacist, I'm often very much confused where to use what. So coming from the past, actually, and 5 years ago, where Doloneurobion was, Doloneurobion was playing in the pain territory and competing with hundreds of different painkiller products, and actually without differentiated proposition, right? So it also took us the journey from talking the same thing as all of the others, we create a new distinctive territory of mixed pain. And what is mixed pain? Mixed pain is really about treating muscle pain and the nerve issues at the same time. And actually, you would think, yeah, this is some marketing concept which appeared in the boardroom. No, it is not. It is not marketing gimmicks, actually. It is very relevant scientific positioning, which is resonating with healthcare professionals and is very much endorsed by the key opinion leaders. So here, it is our first intervention to really think brand, to really think brand for doloneurobion holistically. And actually, our brand design and the whole iconography is truly rooted in the medical story. Because the base of our inspiration is the pain scale, so simple, pain scale. Pain scale which is used by the doctors every day with the patients at the doctor's office to measure the pain intensity from the very severe pain to the moderate and to the relief. So actually, it gave us a great inspiration to show the journey of relief via our iconic wave. And the iconic wave actually also translates very easily the benefit and in a very simple way. So I would like to state here one important thing, that it is really not about beauty and great looks and the great design, but that it's really like, how do we bring the medical science behind into life? And actually, it is very important because we play very much in a restricted environment, right, where we cannot talk brands. So, for example, it is crucial for us to have this whole brand word and positioning, because in the scientific events, congresses, workshops, where we meet healthcare professionals and talk science, where we don't use the brands, we can still use our iconic elements and tell the story. We often also provide to the healthcare professionals scientific papers, publications, and also it's coming from us, where we don't talk about the brands, but actually, using the iconic elements and using the overall story, we want to make the point. Oftentimes also in the digital space, we do a lot of education, webinars, and CME programs for healthcare professionals. So it's really important that the brand has the recognition, even if we don't show the brand actually. So it is crucial for us that we build the overall strategy, that overall look and feel and positioning, and actually that we can live it in a branded and unbranded way and capture this holistically so everybody can see all the strategy of the brand across the board on different touch points. Okay, so let's talk about the second intervention. And the second intervention that we are taking is actually, we are going away from talking products and ingredients only. And you could ask yourself, why? You have to ask yourself the question, actually, why healthcare professionals become healthcare professionals? Why doctor becomes doctors, pharmacists become pharmacists? They don't become healthcare professionals because they want to hear about products and ingredients and so on. Actually, this is boring for them, right? They don't want to hear about this every time again and again. Actually, they become healthcare professionals to help people, to help their patients. So this is why our whole communication is focused on the patients, on the issues, on the health issues that the patients have and that they see every day in their office, in the doctor's office, or in the pharmacy, right? So here you see some examples for dolonerobion, how we did this. So for example, you see Sarah, which is sending hundreds of emails per day, and actually she suffers from the neck pain. Or another patient example, who is Julian, who is a football player, had some contusion, and actually he is now experiencing some muscular spasm. Or another example of Marisol, which actually would like to enjoy life, but she's suffering big time from the joint pain. So it is really key for us to focus on the patient, to make it really relevant for the everyday life of the doctor or the pharmacist, so he can relate or she can relate to that. And then when you show the patient the health issue they have, and then we can introduce how our products can play a role and solve the issue and help them to relieve. And the third element is the science, boring science, right? Actually, I think we all agree that our products in the healthcare environment need a lot of great science behind, right? But now we are operating in the healthcare industry in the graveyard of science. There is millions of publications everywhere, bibliotheques and literature, scientific papers, everything. It is a mass, right? It's a lot of graphs, data, and so on. So how actually to make it distinctive for us, for our brands, how to engage in the science, how to stick out, how to make it as a conversation, and actually, is it at all possible? So what we do is we turn away from just talking science and graphs, and we turn the science into the experience and into the visual experience, right? That the doctors or the pharmacists can really see and somehow feel what it is about, what our products and territory we play are about. Because like Attila mentioned, it's not about the draining and putting yet another clinical study to read and to dive into, but it's also about the delighting them and bringing them in the way that they can digest that easily. So this is the example of the virtual reality, actually, that we do for dolonerobion brand. And we use this in the face-to-face visit, we use this in the scientific symposia, during the small workshops also. And it's a great way of the engagement, because this gives us also the possibility to talk and to show the pathophysiology of mixed pain, what is happening in the tissues inside, and actually it gives us the opportunity to show how our products work, how actually our specific ingredients work to solve the issues and make the difference and relief from pain and bring to the healing. So this is about the doctors, right? So how about the pharmacists? How to talk science into the pharmacists? So we probably wouldn't do the virtual reality to the pharmacist, because first, what we should do is we should put ourselves into their shoes, right? So what does it mean, putting ourselves into their shoes? So what is the everyday in the pharmacy? They are dealing with thousands of products, yeah? RX, OTC, food supplements, everything. So there is so many products. There are hundreds of people every day entering the pharmacy. And they have very different problems, from flu, allergy, cardiovascular, diabetics, to pain, perhaps, right? So the communication and the education towards the pharmacist has to be easy, digestible, straight to the point, and simple. So this is also how we explain the mixed pain and our products to the pharmacist. So the content is the same, but the way of presenting it to the pharmacist is very different. They have to be able to digest it, they have to be able to live with this, understand it, and actually they have to be able to use this insight to the next patient or customer that is entering the pharmacy. So it is really important to be focused and also to be relevant to the particular different HCP that we are approaching. Okay, so the three intervention also what Attila was talking about. So first was think brand, the second focus on the patient, and the third delay don't brain, actually is bringing good business results for us, and we measure this in the love brand pathway, actually. And Attila shared last year already how we measure this in the consumer space. We measure this also for healthcare professionals. And you see on the diagonal axis the brand respect, which is all about the functional benefits and elements. But also on the horizontal, you see the brand love, which is all about the emotional connection with the brand. And every brand aspires to be in the top right corner, of course, because we want to be connected and we want to be super, super relevant. So with Doloneurobion, actually, 3 years ago, we were very much in the left side of the quadrant. But we were able to move to the love brand territory, to the top right corner, and actually this that we moved there is very well translated into the business results, where we see in our key markets that our business is growing over 30% in 3 years. So, Attila, tell us more about the other brand. Thank you.
Okay, so let's continue with Neurobion, which is the second example of brands that abided by those 3 principles. Let me start out with saying that in the past, Neurobion has been one of those brands that was quite inconsistent across the world. Equally, if not more importantly, however, it was one of those brands that had millions of charts, but no one significant, unique story to engage on with doctors. So as part of our journey, we have, of course, created a world that would delight, but also big-time impact healthcare professionals, and then indirectly also touch millions of people who may be suffering from the symptoms we will talk about in a second. For those of you who may not be familiar with vitamin B, which is in essence a combination of vitamin B, is Neurobion, lack thereof may be actually leading to some, let me say, individual, unspecific symptoms such as tiredness, tingling, numbness, and unless the doctor and the healthcare professional is specifically pointed to it, they may not be actually making the link of lack of vitamin B with some nerve issues, potentially some nerve damage that the patient may be suffering from. So in the context of thinking brand, we have seen the opportunity in transforming from this brand as a vitamin B brand, trying to tackle these unspecific symptoms of numbness, tingling, sometimes tiredness, transition it entirely to a new world where we have defined, similarly to what we just talked in the pain area, a unique, completely new treatment territory, which we called nerve care. So it is about, of course, it's about a great visual world. By the way, the design guru, he's sitting here in the front, Christine Laban-Childs. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to tell you a little bit more about how we have we have decided to actually take some of the elements like the iconic N or the dots being connected. Very importantly, of course, the design and visual appeal is important, but very importantly, there's a backing from the medical side, and it builds on a truth that vitamin B actually nourishes the nerves, and where they are disconnected, connects them, and therefore alleviates all the symptoms that the healthcare professional may be hearing from the patients. So it was both for us the visual expression thereof, but equally, if not more importantly, that we are relying on the science and the medical backing. The design, the important thing here, similarly to the pain area, in many countries, it's not only about having a beautiful look, but it's also having elements that will be recognizable in the absence of the brand. So as we translate it into the different touch points, we were always probing at, if we did not have the Neurobion branding, if the doctor and the pharmacist would be able to recognize and connect it with the iconic N, with the nerve care, with Neurobion, which has been very, very critical to our success. In the area of avoiding the lengthy blah blah about product ingredients, Neurobion has been one of the pioneering brands that rode away relentlessly from having these lengthy discussions, again and again talking the ingredients, to transitioning real patients and their stories. So here I have also 3 examples. It could be a mechanic that has just turned 50, is highly relying on their motoric skills. It could be an IT specialist that are losing maybe the sensitivity on their fingers and they're relying on it for typing the entire day. Another patient that can be walking into the practice of the doctor is a nurse that have actually a diabetic nurse that can actually be suffering from nerve pain in an advanced stage. The third area that I'm going to directly jump into is how can we transition from having the so-called sales pitches into inviting the doctor and the healthcare professional to experiencing the struggles that the patient may be going through day in, day out. So a few examples here. We have put our money and our focus on bringing alive, for example, somebody who's losing the sensitivity on the fingertips, what difficulty they may be having every morning buttoning their shirt, right? And so this is an aha experience. Similarly, here another healthcare professional going through the experience of having this tingling. So patients would call it ants walking on my hands, right? Once you have this experience, you're going to be able to connect it to the verbalization when the patient is in front of you. And when we had the money, this is the more elaborate version, we also demonstrated to doctors how it would be if they had actually difficulties to grab an object and lift it whilst losing some of the sensitivity on their fingers. To wrap it up on the business results side, brand over business has paid out also big time here. You see the same way of illustrating the tracking of the image of the brand in Brazil on the left side, India in the middle, and Philippines on the right side. We have significantly pushed Neurobion to the upper right-hand side, gaining love, but also respect for the brand, resulting in only 3 years. For consistency purposes, we are depicted 3 years. So you can see in both brands, actually, the impact of 65% in Brazil. In the middle, you see India with a similar pattern of pushing to the upper right-hand side and 33% growth. And finally, we wanted to show you an example from the Southeast Asian countries. One of them is Philippines, that did extremely well. You see the push that we have gained in the direction of love, which means I feel attracted to this brand, there's sympathy, I feel close to this brand, which has then directly translated to 64% growth in only 3 years. As a summary, humanizing our relationships with doctors means that we have to relentlessly put the brand over the business, means we have to put the focus on the patient, and finally, delight, not drain. Thank you very, very much. I believe Michelle will walk in now if you guys have had questions to engage on those. Thank you.
Michelle absolutely is. Thank you so much to Attila and Justina. That's a brilliant side of the industry that's often not covered. So we've got a couple of minutes for questions, and you guys have been really interactive. Thank you. You mentioned the importance of brand. What KPIs do you use to measure it, please?
Yes. So it is very similar in the context of treating doctors as humans, right? Very similar market research like we do with consumers. So we have the awareness, consideration, and on the commitment side, we're looking for endorsement rate and recommendation. Those would be for the image. And you have seen here some of the attributes, we put it under love, some others we put under respect. And the size of the bubble, the heart, it is the commitment, as in I fully stand behind this brand. Those are the KPIs.
Well, wonderful KPIs. Thank you so much. So please put your hands together for Justina and Attila. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.